I recently faced every dog owner's worst nightmare. The HOA president from hell not only sprayed my service dog in the face, but she tried to have him labeled as dangerous and put down. Her excuse, she claimed he was barking too much. But let me tell you, the only thing that truly got tested that day was my willpower not to completely ruin her entire existence. My name is Jack Dalton. I used to handle military dogs that could find a bomb buried in a sandstorm, but now I handle Teddy. He's a golden retriever, and he's my lifeline. Teddy is my service dog. He helps with the noise in my head and keeps me grounded when the world gets too loud. We live in a quiet suburb where peace is supposed to be the standard, but here, peace has a name, and her name is Karen Jordan. She was the HOA president, the self-appointed queen of beige siding, and perfectly manicured lawn heights. One morning, Teddy and I were on our routine walk. A delivery truck backfired down the street with a loud, sharp crack. My chest tightened, and my breath caught in my throat. The sound threw me right back to a place I never want to be. Teddy felt it instantly. He let out a single, sharp bark, not out of aggression, but to alert me, to bring me back. He pressed his shoulder firmly into my knee, and just like that, my breathing returned to normal. That's what he does. He saves me. But that one single bark was all Karen needed. Her front door flew open, and she marched onto her lawn like she was leading a charge. "Jack Dalton, you cannot control that animal," she shrieked, her voice cutting through the morning calm. I tried to explain that he was a service dog, that he had just been startled and was doing his job, but she wasn't listening. She just declared him a menace. Suddenly, a police cruiser pulled up. Officers Miller and Sanchez stepped out. Karen waved them down, her voice dripping with fake panic. "Officers, thank heavens, this man's vicious animal just lunged at me." I just stood there, stunned. Teddy was sitting patiently by my side, looking up at me with his big, confused brown eyes. Then, while the officers were distracted talking to each other, Karen took a step forward. She pulled a small canister from her pocket and sprayed a thick, chemical mist directly into Teddy's face. My boy yelped, a sound of pure pain, stumbling back and pawing desperately at his burning eyes. My rage was a white-hot fire. I've been in some intense situations, but nothing prepared me for the fury I felt in that moment. "What did you just do?" I asked, and my voice was dangerously quiet. Karen held up the can, looking triumphant. "I was defending myself. It's just citronella spray. It's harmless." But it wasn't harmless. Teddy was in agony. Officer Sanchez, to his credit, helped me flush Teddy's eyes with saline, while Officer Miller confiscated the canister. But they treated it like a simple neighborhood spat, telling us both to go home and calm down. But I knew this wasn't over. This was a declaration of war. The next morning, the escalation turned deadly serious. Animal control showed up at my door. An officer named Ruiz informed me that a formal report had been filed claiming Teddy bit a child. A child. There was no child anywhere near us during the incident. It was a cold, calculated lie. And because of this fabricated, unprovoked bite, Teddy was placed under a mandatory 10-day quarantine. But that wasn't even the worst part. Karen had filed for an emergency destruction order. I had 24 hours. Just 24 hours to prove it was all a lie, or they would take Teddy from me and euthanize him. My world tilted on its axis. I spent the next few hours frantically knocking on doors, begging my neighbors for any security footage. But Karen's web of fear ran deep in our neighborhood. My neighbor Duke lied straight to my face, saying his camera was on the fritz. Another neighbor, Mrs. Gable, admitted she saw everything, but was too scared of Karen's infamous HOA fines to speak up. I felt the walls closing in. Then, my phone buzzed. It was an email from the HOA, a formal notice of $1,250 in fines and a threat of foreclosure on my home. They weren't just coming for my dog, they were coming for my home, all at the same time. I had no choice. I called in the only air support I had, my old unit buddy, Marcus. He's a tech wizard, a ghost in the machine. I told him, "I need your help, Marcus. They're trying to kill my dog." Within an hour, Marcus had bypassed the HOA's flimsy server security. He found a goldmine of emails. Karen had coached her assistant Sarah to file the fake bite report, even threatening her job if she didn't comply. She had also coordinated with the other board members to force me out of the neighborhood entirely. It was a premeditated conspiracy, all laid out in black and white. The problem was, I couldn't use hacked emails in court without getting Marcus in serious trouble. I needed a witness to flip. Later that day, I saw Sarah arrive at Karen's house. As she was leaving, her little dog, Elfie, accidentally slipped out of the gate and ran straight into the street. A delivery van was coming, and it was coming fast. Without a second thought, I vaulted my fence and scooped the little dog up, just as the van screeched to a halt inches away. I handed the trembling little dog back to a tearful Sarah. She looked at me, completely shocked. "Why would you save him?" she whispered, after what I did. I looked her in the eye and said, "Because it wasn't the dog's fault. I know about the emails, Sarah. I know she forced you to lie. You have a choice. Keep living in her fear, or help me stop her for good." The tide had finally turned. That evening, the HOA held an emergency meeting at the clubhouse. Karen stood at the podium, ready to finalize my eviction and seal Teddy's fate. "This board has voted unanimously to enforce the lien against Mr. Dalton for his dangerous animal," she announced with a smug smile. I stood up. Before you vote, I said, my voice ringing through the silent room, I'd like to know the name of this bitten child. Where are the medical records? Where is the police report? Karen just sneered. The family wishes to remain anonymous. I think the truth is a lot simpler, I said. And then I called out, Sarah. From the back of the room, Sarah stood up. Her voice was trembling, but it was firm. There was no child. Karen, you forced me to lie. And I've already sent a sworn affidavit to the district attorney. The room erupted in gasps. Just then, Marcus stood up and announced that the entire meeting was being live-streamed to the local news. Karen's face went from pale to ghostly white. She tried to flee, but the very neighbors she had bullied for years blocked her path. The fallout was total. Animal Control dropped all charges against Teddy immediately. The entire HOA board was forced to resign, and the new board issued a formal apology and paid for all the damages. As for Karen, she didn't just lose her position. She was charged with filing a false report, perjury, and felony animal cruelty. She ended up selling her house at a loss and vanished from the state. A few weeks later, the whole neighborhood gathered at our local park. They didn't just want to move on. They wanted to honor the dog who brought the community together. The mayor himself came and pinned a civilian service medal on Teddy's collar. And then they unveiled a new sign, Teddy's Park. Now, I sit on a bench, watching my best friend trot happily through the grass. Home finally feels like home again. How far will a man go to defend his own? As far as it takes. Thanks for watching. If you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to BestWithB12.